attempted emergency landing in the middle of a soccer match. GoPro footage released today caught the whole scenario playing out in Poland. The skydiver says after a parachute failure, they were left with no choice but to land at the stadium as opposed to the nearby airport. The match was briefly halted, and the referee decided to award the parachutist a yellow card for the interruption. The major announcement by the Biden administration tonight after criticism of the U.S. hoarding vaccines. The move that will pave the way for hundreds of millions of doses to be shared with the world. But how soon can shots actually be administered in countries in need? Our Cecilia Vega is traveling with the president overseas tonight. While here in the U.S., in some cases, millions of doses are set to expire as several states are seeing the vaccine rate plunge. How can officials win over the skeptics? And what can states do with extra doses? Bob Woodruff is tracking the vaccine. And as President Biden is overseas, is all hope of an infrastructure compromise dead? We talk with the Republican senator who could be key to reviving the talks. What he says the president told him just yesterday.
He emphasized he wanted to get something done. He appreciated there was a bipartisan group of senators, and he laid out that which he wished to see included, and that was very productive.
Also in Washington tonight and up and down the East Coast, billions and billions of cicadas. They are here, and apparently no one or nothing is immune from their reach. How the bugs managed to ground one of the president's planes. And tonight, the Michelin star chef traveling the globe, dishing out hope one hot meal at a time.
The new American dream must be about taking care of the voiceless and taking care of the ones that have way less than you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Lindsay Davis. Thank you so much for streaming with us. Tonight, President Biden is overseas and making a big push to help end the global pandemic. Over the next 2 years, the White House is expected to provide 500 million doses of the highly effective Pfizer vaccine to about 100 countries. The hundreds of millions of vaccines would help vaccinate roughly 1 out of 16 people worldwide. Meantime, President Biden landing in the UK and delivering a rousing speech telling allies the U.S. is back and telling autocrats that democracies of the world are standing together. And the president letting the world know that he is ready to take on Russia. He, of course, will meet with Vladimir Putin next week, saying that he will let him know what he wants him to know. The meeting comes after those Russian-based cyber attacks that have affected gas prices and the U.S. meat supply. Chief White House correspondent Cecilia Vega is in Cornwall, England, with the president tonight.
Tonight, President Biden kicking off his first trip abroad with a visit to troops and a blunt message for both allies and adversaries.
I'm heading to the G7, then to the NATO ministerial, and then to meet with Mr. Putin to let him know what I want him to know.
The president immediately drawing a stark contrast with former President Trump's tense relationship with America's European allies.
We're going to make it clear that the United States is back, and democracies of the world are standing together to tackle the toughest challenges and the issues that matter most to our future.
Trump bashed NATO from the very beginning, questioning the value of the alliance itself. President Biden now making it clear these relationships matter.
Our alliances weren't built by coercion or maintained by threats. They're grounded on democratic ideals, a shared vision of the future, and where every voice matters.
The president then turning to that high-stakes meeting with Vladimir Putin.
I'll travel to Geneva to sit down with the man I've spent time with before, President Vladimir Putin.
On the table, Russia's efforts to meddle in the U.S. election, the recent ransomware attack on the Colonial Pipeline that led to gas shortages and price spikes, and the cyber attack on the nation's largest beef producer, both believed to have originated in Russia. Also on the agenda, shared issues like arms control.
We're not seeking conflict with Russia. We want a stable, predictable relationship. But I've been clear. The United States will respond in a robust and meaningful way when the Russian government engages in harmful activities.
President Biden with some forceful words there. Cecilia Vega joins us now from England, traveling with the president. Cecilia, President Biden is delivering that America is back message on this first foreign trip, but can he rebuild trust with our allies overseas?
Well, that's the big question heading into these summits, Lindsay, but it appears that he is already on the road to rebuilding back some of that trust. He's heard from many allies already, and they're praising for, in their words, President Biden re-engaging, bringing America back to the world stage. But make no mistake, these are damaged relationships, and this is not going to be an easy task moving forward. But President Biden, he says these talks that he's having here this week, they're just the beginning, but the timing could not be more crucial, Lindsay, giving these ongoing threats that America and our allies have been seeing repeatedly in recent weeks and months from Russia.
And, of course, that major meeting scheduled with Vladimir Putin next week. What's the White House saying on how he's preparing for that summit?
Well, Lindsay, we're being told that these preparations were that at least he's having at least once a daily briefings leading up to this meeting with Putin. And he's got a number of close aides that are doing these briefings. And they sort of range in opinions. Some who are telling him he should be sort of moderate when he has this face-to-face summit. Others who are telling that he needs to take a tougher, harder line when it comes to some of these cyber attacks and really send a tough message to Putin. And then you're hearing from those critics who say that Biden shouldn't be meeting with Vladimir Putin at all, that, in fact, it gives someone like Putin a gift to be seen on the world stage standing next to President Biden. But nonetheless, that meeting is going to happen, Lindsay. The White House, the president, they've made it crystal clear. They say this is about rebuilding a relationship with Russia. Having that relationship helps everybody. This is what the world needs right now, is to have these two major parties in this world having a face-to-face summit like the one we're going to see next week.
And all eyes will be watching, of course. Cecilia Vega reporting in from England. Thanks so much. Now to the latest on infrastructure talks in Washington. Let's bring in Republican Senator Bill Cassidy of Louisiana, who President Biden spoke with just yesterday before heading to Europe. Senator Cassidy, thank you, as always, for your time. Give us a sense. After talks broke down between President Biden and GOP Senator Shelley Moore Capito, he turned to you and a group of bipartisan senators still working to negotiate a deal. First, just give us a sense of your conversation with the president and where your group's talks stand today.
Yeah, so he spoke as to, one, thank you for having me, but he spoke as to what his priorities were, both in terms of the amount of money and the things that would be covered. He emphasized he wanted to get something done. He appreciated there was a bipartisan group of senators, and he laid out that which he wished to see included, and that was very productive.
And it seems that the prior talks broke down over two core issues, right? The size and scope of the plan and how to pay for it. Why do you feel like your group might have better success at bridging those major divides?
Well, there's a difference between a group of Republican senators negotiating with the White House and a group of Democratic and Republican senators negotiating with each other. If we can come to agreement on certain issues and then hopefully socialize it, if you will, kind of popularize it among our colleagues, then that signals to the White House is that's where the Senate can be. Democrats will buy into it and Republicans will accept it, sort of thing. You don't have that sense if the White House is only speaking to Republican senators. So I think it's been very productive having this based within the Senate.
Now, Democrats have made it clear that they want to pay for any spending by raising taxes on corporations and the wealthy. Republicans have been adamant in opposing any tax increases and wanting to pay for this by reallocating unspent COVID relief funds and instituting new fees. So how optimistic are you about the potential success of these talks if there are these fundamental differences on how to get any of this paid for?
We just need to pay for it in a way which is acceptable to Republican and Democratic senators. Now, Republicans clearly don't want to go back to the Tax Cut and Jobs Act bill. We look at the prosperity that resulted from the passage of that and do not wish to endanger that prospective, once more after we're out of the pandemic, prosperity. So if we begin with that, there's still things we can work together on. And I can say that so far in our working group, we've managed to do that.
Would you say that tax increases of any sort are a no-go, including the president's idea of a minimum corporate tax at 15% to help pay for this?
There will not be a minimum corporate tax to pay for this in this bill. Now, that is not to say that Democrats won't attempt to do that in the future through reconciliation. Believe me, you can look at the plans they have, and they're going to spend a lot of money. They're going to raise a lot of taxes. All I can say is that on this bipartisan deal, that's not part of it, and we do have it paid for.
On the scope of the deal, your group is working on a more focused plan on what's been called core infrastructure involving things like roads, bridges, ports, and broadband. But Democrats have pushed for much more, including spending on infrastructure to address climate change, for example. So can you get a deal through both the House and Senate that's just focused on core infrastructure? Isn't that really a non-starter for the progressive Democrats?
I can't speak for progressive Democrats, but what I can say is the president asked that there be an energy section. And so what I had done working kind of independently of the group of senators, and I've since merged with them, is to look at what the Republican Senate passed last year, Republican, Democrat, bipartisan bill to address energy issues, with many things in that passed with a majority Republican Congress and Senate, that precisely addressed issues of carbon intensity. And we brought that bill in, passed on a bipartisan basis, into this bill. Last year, we only authorized, which is we said you can spend money. This year, we actually allocate the dollars to do it. Briefly, it would include the SCALE Act, which would help build carbon dioxide pipelines so that you could sequester carbon. It would include financing for next generation nuclear energy, direct air capture, rare earth minerals, which are essential to making electric batteries. So we have a lot of stuff in it that was already passed that we funded, and I believe that meets the president's demand to have such issues addressed.
Excuse me. Senator John Thune said today, quote, "It's hard for me to see a scenario where even 10 Republicans vote for something that gets very far beyond where Shelley's discussions were with the White House," referring to Senator Capito, and talks over new spending. But the White House rejected that plan. So again, how does this get the necessary votes that both sides can agree on?
Well, a couple things. I can't tell you how many votes I'm going to get, or we're going to get. We're right now in the process of speaking to colleagues. But actually, I think the energy section that is added to this bill is attractive to Republicans. Remember, this energy section passed by a bipartisan majority, but it was under a Republican Senate. And we're taking that and we're now funding those provisions. That's a Republican bill that is also kind of where the president is. So there is common ground there. And so the senators who supported that bill hopefully will support this bill. By the way, I'll also mention that the group of us who've been working on this met with Mitch McConnell, and Minority Leader McConnell said that he had an open mind. He wasn't shutting it down. He said he had an open mind. So we took that as encouragement.
Switching gears now, moving on to the pandemic. We've seen declining rates of vaccinations across the country and especially low rates in the South. Your state of Louisiana has the third lowest vaccination rate in the country, and you're one of 6 states with less than half of adults with at least 1 dose. How do you turn that around and convince more Louisiana residents to get vaccinated?
Well, as a physician, because I am a doctor, I truly think that you need to go back to the patient-physician relationship. It's one thing to go through a car line and to get a shot and wait over there for 15 minutes. But when you go to your trusted physician and you ask her, "Doctor, should I get this shot? I've had concerns about it." And she replies, "Yes, I think you should, because," and then she goes through the benefits of it versus the relative risks. Risks are very small. The risk of getting infected is very high. Risk of vaccination, very small. And that's how you persuade people. I would go back to, we need to employ that physician-patient relationship, building upon the trust that they've developed.
And lastly, as you say, because you are a doctor, are you concerned that your state and the country can't turn the corner if we don't reach a higher threshold that'll help keep these dangerous new variants from spreading?
A couple things. We can see that the rate of infection, a positive test, of hospitalization, and of death continues to decline. And what is pretty clear now is that those who are previously infected have most likely, almost always, have long-term immunity, as if they had been vaccinated. So it isn't just those who've received a dose of vaccine, but it is also those who've been previously vaccinated, and that in of itself will create immunity. So the number of people who are immune is greater than the number of people who are vaccinated. So that's something that's not being taken into account. But the fact that still infection rates, hospitalization rates, and death rates continue to decline tells me that something else is taking place.
Senator Bill Cassidy, always a pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Lindsay.
And we just heard Senator Cassidy there discussing the low rates of vaccinations in the South, and that's exactly where our Marcus Moore is tonight in Mississippi, where the state is struggling to get more of its residents vaccinated. And as some doses in the U.S. could soon expire, the White House is now making a major move to get more vaccine doses overseas, where new variants are taking a deadly toll. Marcus Moore has the latest.
Tonight, with vaccine demand slowing in the U.S., news that unused Johnson & Johnson one-dose vaccines are due to expire at the end of the month. The company, which suffered setbacks in early April due to safety concerns about blood clots in a very small number of women, saying today it's working to try to extend the shelf life of its doses.
We still believe that we are going to be very relevant in terms of getting patients vaccinated around the world.
This coming amid President Biden's announcement that the U.S. will buy 500 million doses of Pfizer to provide to poorer nations. The race to vaccinate in the U.S. facing challenges, even as concerns grow about the highly contagious Delta variant first detected in India. That strain now dominant in the U.K., with transmission rising among 12 to 20-year-olds, raising concerns for experts here in the U.S.
We're out there really pushing and beating the bushes and trying to get people to understand why it's so important for them to get vaccinated.
On average, about 357,000 U.S. adults have gotten at least one shot every day in the last week. That's down nearly 20%, far short of the approximately 540,000 needed daily to hit President Biden's July 4th goal of 70%. In Oklahoma, where vaccinations have plummeted, the health department saying it may have to throw out tens of thousands of vaccines. 6 states now reporting that half of their adults still have not received at least one shot. At just over 44%, Mississippi ranks last.
I tell you, it's horrifying.
In the small town of Forest, Pastor O.D. Akins is trying to encourage people to get vaccinated after he nearly died from COVID in April.
80 days in the hospital.
80 days. I didn't know whether I was in the world or out of the world.
And a 2% chance.
2% chance survival.
He's hopeful that his story will change people's minds. Marcus Moore joins us now. So, Marcus, many Americans still resistant to taking the vaccine, especially in several southern states. What are you hearing in Mississippi on why many there still haven't gotten the shot?
Well, Lindsay, Pastor Aiken has talked to a lot of those people himself, and he says that first, there is a lot of misinformation about the vaccines and their effectiveness that people have questions about. Also, he says that there are people who feel like, you know, they have belief in God and that they don't need a vaccine to protect them. He, of course, says that that is not the case, that people should get their vaccine and they could still be faithful and believe in God and still get a vaccine at the same time. And then, Lindsay, the third thing that he said that he's run into is that there are people out there who simply do not believe COVID-19 is real. And so those are just a few of the things that are up against health officials as they try to encourage more people to get vaccinated.
Wow, still skeptical that it even exists. All right, Marcus Moore, our thanks to you. Now to the heat wave, which continues for millions. It feels like 90 degrees from New York to Minneapolis, and that's where we find ABC News senior meteorologist Rob Marciano, who's also tracking some dangerous storms. What are you saying, Rob?
We've got it all, Lindsay. Here in Minneapolis, we broke a couple of heat records today, reaching a high of 96 degrees, making it the earliest 7-day stretch where we got up and over the 90-degree mark. And I think tomorrow we're gonna make it 8. Take a look at these numbers. This unfortunately is climate change in your face with humidity levels. It's going to feel like 100 degrees here in Minneapolis. Sioux Falls up and over that, and Pierce, South Dakota. They've been baking. Lincoln, Nebraska, Wichita, all the way down to Oklahoma City. It's got at least one more day of this heat. Meanwhile, the cooling has begun in the Northeast. You felt a little bit today, but temperatures on Friday will be in the 70s, even 60s for highs. That's going to feel very different. And the flooding situation, that hasn't moved much from Arkansas to Alabama. And this ground is completely saturated, so it can't take any more. This situation is going to at least last one more day, as will the heat we're feeling here in the Midwest. Lindsay?
People are going to have to break those jackets back out again on the Northeast. Rob Marciano, our thanks to you. And now to news about the crippling drought across multiple western states. The alarming images tonight of Lake Mead at the Hoover Dam, which is part of the Colorado River system, the water supply for 40 million Americans. Chief National Correspondent Matt Gutman is at the Hoover Dam tonight.
Tonight, the images of this mega drought are writ across the Southwest's landscape. Bathtub rings around reservoirs show where the water once was. Boat marinas and fields bone dry. Experts say Lake Mead, part of the Colorado River system that provides water to some 40 million people in 7 states, is at just 37% capacity. Officials say it'll dip into its lowest level ever recorded tomorrow.
Over the past 2 decades or so, the water level here at Lake Mead has decreased by about 130 feet. That's like a 13-story building, revealing islands that used to be completely submerged.
And the water from this lake makes agriculture possible in the desert Southwest, where farmers are struggling.
It's an economic disaster. We don't plant crops. We don't have jobs. And as we saw during the pandemic, this industry is essential for everyone.
Lake Mead's Hoover Dam provides hydroelectric power to the region, but the dwindling water supply forcing the dam's output to be cut by nearly 25%. And at some point, officials warn it could be forced to stop producing altogether. Nearly 300,000 miles of the Southwest are in exceptional drought, an area bigger than the state of Texas. Last year was the worst fire season, and this year even drier. And experts say it's being driven by climate change.
And Lindsay, this August, when the federal government makes its annual determination, we are expecting that it will declare a water shortage along the lower portion of the Colorado River. Now, this is a big deal because it's never happened before, and it seems obvious, and already the water level here is at water shortage level, but this is obviously the first time it's happening. There are all sorts of policies and rules regarding what will happen. Among them are automatic cuts to water supply in Arizona and in Nevada. We're told that in Arizona, agriculture will lose more water than homeowners, I guess in some ways, get priority. Lindsay.
Thank you. Next, a watchdog report from the Interior Department out today found no evidence that the park police cleared protesters outside the White House last year from Lafayette Park so that former President Trump could hold a photo op holding a Bible. But the report did find problems with the operation. Here's ABC's chief Washington correspondent, Jonathan Karl.
Donald Trump's infamous photo op holding that Bible in front of St. John's Church last summer began just 21 minutes after the surrounding area was forcefully cleared by U.S. Park Police and other law enforcement. At the time, it appeared the protesters were forced out to make room for the president's visit. But a new report today by the internal investigator at the Department of Interior says there is no evidence the operation had anything to do with Trump's visit.
We did not find evidence that a potential presidential visit to the park or the St. John's Church influenced the park police's decision-making or their deployment.
Instead, the report says protesters were cleared out to allow contractors to build a fence in response to damage done during the previous 2 nights of rioting. The report says the park police didn't even know about the president's plans until hours after it began planning their operation. The operation to remove peaceful protesters became violent. Many people were injured and beaten, something that is not addressed by the report. The report does find that tear gas and other chemical irritants were used against the protesters, and that most of the crowd could not hear the audio warnings issued by the police that the area was about to be cleared out.
Jonathan Karl joins us now. John, how is President Trump responding to the conclusions of this report?
Lindsay, the former president put out a statement thanking the inspector general, saying that the report totally exonerates him from ordering the removal of the protesters from the area around this church. And although the report does say there was no evidence that the president made that order, at the time, the president praised the actions of the police to remove the protesters, saying that they did a, quote, great job.
Jonathan Karl, our thanks to you. And when we come back, the investigation into this incredibly disturbing video, the bus driver plowing into other cars, and then ultimately a building. Our conversation with Jose Andres, one of America's top chefs, who is also currently one of the biggest humanitarians, his organization feeding so many in their time of need. 5 billion on this planet have yet to be vaccinated. China and Russia have their own shots. Tonight, the question, how does the entire planet get vaccinated quickly? And what are the rules with all these different vaccines approved by different governments?
With so much at stake, so much on the line, more Americans turn here than any other newscast. ABC News World News Tonight with David Muir.
We have made it through another week together.
America's #1 most watched newscast across all of television.
Admit it, these days, what you need to know
seems to change just about every day.
What is it that you really want to know, need to know?
To help you not just get through your day,
but to make the most of it. Feel smarter.
Feel better.
Feel happier.
Well, how about a third hour of Good Morning America in the afternoon?
GMA 3, what you need to know. Lunchtime at 1 Eastern, 12 Central and Pacific on ABC. It's all about you.
Robin Roberts, George Stephanopoulos, Michael Strahan. Wake up with America's #1 most watched morning show. ABC's
Good Morning America.
The world may feel out of your control, but your happiness doesn't have to be. Learn the secrets to happiness. Listen to the 10% Happier podcast, free on Apple Podcasts.
ABC News honored winner for the second straight year with the Edward R. Murrow Award for Overall Excellence in Television. ABC News, America's #1 news source. Friday nights, 9/8 Central. True crime, cinematic, real-life drama, stunning, the unthinkable. Follow the clues. The Hunt. True Crime 2020. Friday nights, 9/8 Central on ABC.
The reality is our country can collapse from within.
You see the white power movement on the march. Klansmen and neo-Nazis, skinheads, it's meant to incite war.
From the KKK to Oklahoma City to Charlottesville, the new documentary event special.
We just need to start talking about race.
Homegrown hate, the war among us.
This is a real wake-up call.
Streaming now on ABC News Live. In Australia, where I live, we've just had the worst spate of fatal shark encounters in a century. As someone who loves sharks and being in the water, why do you think they're coming closer to shores? I want to find out if we can live together without doing each other harm.
Coexisting is really important.
I couldn't agree with you more.
They will come close. Don't make sharp movements.
Should I be nervous? Wow.
The biggest Shark Fest ever begins with the premiere of Shark Beach with Chris Hemsworth, Monday, July 5th at 9 on National Geographic.
Beech-Nut is issuing a voluntary recall for some of its baby cereal. The company says it will no longer sell the brand's single-grain rice cereal because it contains levels of arsenic that are above FDA limits. No illnesses related to the cereal have been reported. The White House's plan to purchase 500 million doses of COVID vaccine from Pfizer to provide for the global vaccine program COVAX will be welcome news to those around the world still struggling to get vaccinated. It comes even as some doses here in the U.S. could potentially go to waste as vaccination rates decline. So what are the hurdles to getting more vaccine doses overseas? ABC's Bob Woodruff takes a look in this week's Vaccine Watch.
The United States now has an abundance of COVID vaccines, and a lot of them may be about to expire. This partly because some Americans have refused or held off on getting vaccinated.
I think for me, it's just, I just haven't gotten around to it. I definitely plan to.
Many countries around the world are desperate for our vaccine supply, even our closest neighbors.
Canada is desperately trying to get shots into arms and looking to our state for help.
But when it comes to donating vaccine doses, the challenge is not the physical transportation by plane or ship. It is the legal and bureaucratic complexity that is not yet resolved.
At this point, our best bet is to just try to get as many of those J&J vaccines into arms of Americans while we think about the rest of our stockpile and try to redistribute that around the world.
As of now, more than 5 billion people around the world have not yet received a single shot. Some countries have not received vaccines at all, including Burundi, Eritrea, Tanzania, and Haiti.
About 2 billion shots have been administered worldwide, and about 80% of those are either in high-income or upper-middle-income countries.
Some desperate for a vaccine are coming to the U.S., either because there are not enough vaccines at home, or others don't trust the vaccines they are offered in their own country.
America, layout Inglaterra. noche. No, Iran, no.
It really is a bit of the Wild West right now. I think the good news is there's more and more vaccines being developed and being made more available.
President Biden plans for the U.S. to ship up to 80 million vaccine doses around the world by the end of this month, and has also pledged at least $4 billion to the international COVAX efforts, more than any other nation.
Mr. President, do you expect to come out with a vaccine strategy for the world?
I have one, and I'll be announcing it.
The first 25 million of those doses will go to the countries most in need.
About 19 million of those 25 million are going to be shared through a program called COVAX, which is part of the World Health Organization's plan to immunize countries that are lower resource.
The remaining 6 million will go to countries prioritized by the U.S. and to UN frontline workers.
It's a drop in the bucket. I mean, it's a goodwill gesture, but it's a drop in the bucket. I mean, we need to be supporting countries ramping up their own production.
COVAX initially promised the world 1.8 billion vaccine doses by June, but by the end of this month, that promise will likely fall short by about 190 million doses.
They're going to need another 250 million by September. And it's really in part because India, where the majority of these vaccines were supposed to be manufactured, had to divert their doses to its own population.
But adding to the growing complexity of the global vaccination campaign, new questions about which vaccines will count for international travelers.
Not all vaccines are created equally, and what we're seeing is that play out on the international stage, where we're seeing certain countries experiencing surge, even despite having, incredibly well-deployed vaccines across the population. These surges are related to both variants, but also because vaccines that were used in those countries were just not as effective.
For example, vaccines like AstraZeneca, Russia's Sputnik V, and China's Sinopharm have not been approved for use here in the United States.
It goes without saying, these are all different vaccines, so they're not identical in the way they work and also presumably in how well they work.
So the question is, would the U.S. or other countries allow travelers who received them to enter, even if, for some countries, these were the only vaccines available?
Well, what does that mean for all students that are returning to the U.S. and that are required to be immunized as part of their college experience? If they've had the Sinopharm vaccine, do they count, or do they have to start over? And which vaccine should they take? Should they take 2 doses of Pfizer? Maybe it's a single shot of J&J as a booster.
Starting July 1st, countries in the EU will allow free travel for those holding a digital COVID certificate proving they are vaccinated with one of those approved by the European Medicines Agency.
It's complicated because do people have to get immunized with the right vaccine for the country they want to go to, and what is the protocol?
And as for the United States, still no clear guidance. This is Bob Woodruff, tracking the vaccine.
Still need some clarity there. Our thanks to Bob Woodruff for that. And still ahead here on Prime, the Wi-Fi warning about a new Amazon network that could share some of your internet connection with strangers. GPS monitoring for 2 weeks. That's what's in store for all Olympic participants coming in for the games. And cicadas, it's official. They are a problem. We take a look by the numbers, but first our tweet of the day. El Salvador's president with the announcement that his country is the first in the world to make Bitcoin official currency.
I know what happened, and I'm not guilty.
Why the fascination with criminal trials? Figure out what's really out there.
She revealed she had murdered his family.
I know in my heart they did this.
It's the time of suspicion.
The ending's really tough.
You don't know whether truth is going to be difficult to find unless you try to find it. The reality is our country can collapse from within.
You see the white power movement on the march.
You will not replace us!
Klansmen and neo-Nazis, skinheads. It's meant to incite war.
From the KKK to Oklahoma City to Charlottesville, the new documentary event special.
We just need to start talking about race.
Homegrown hate, the war among us.
This is a real wake-up call.
Streaming now on ABC News Live.
Admit it. These days, what you need to know
seems to change just about every day.
What is it that you really want to know, need to know?
To help you not just get through your day,
but to make the most of it. Feel smarter.
Feel better.
Feel happier.
Well, how about a third hour of Good Morning America in the afternoon?
GMA 3, what you need to know. Lunchtime at 1 Eastern, 12 Central and Pacific on ABC. It's all about you.
24 hours. Assault on the Capitol. The ABC News original. Exclusively on Hulu. Now streaming. With so much at stake, so much on the line, more Americans turn here than any other newscast. ABC News World News Tonight with David Muir.
We have made it through another week together.
America's #1 most watched newscast across all of television.
The world may feel out of your control, but your happiness doesn't have to be. Learn the secrets to happiness. Listen to the 10% Happier podcast, free on Apple Podcasts.
Robin Roberts, George Stephanopoulos, Michael Strahan. Wake up with America's #1 most watched morning show. ABC's
Good Morning America.
ABC News honored winner for the second straight year with the Edward R. Murrow Award for overall excellence in television. ABC News, America's #1 news source.
Welcome back, everyone. Now to a massive infestation from Illinois to the East Coast. We are talking, of course, about the cicadas, possibly trillions of them coming out this year. We take a look by the numbers. 6 hours, that's how long a White House press charter plane was delayed after the aircraft was overwhelmed with the insects. We also saw President Biden swat one away, saying, "It got me." One, that's how many cicadas it took to cause this car crash in Cincinnati. Police say after it flew through a window and hit the driver's face. Brood X comes out every 17 years, which means that they've been underground feeding off sap from tree roots since the year 2004. They crawl up from the dirt when the ground reaches about 64 degrees, then shed their skin and become adults. But the adults only live 3 to 4 weeks, just long enough to attract mates and reproduce. Their ear-piercing clicking can reach 90 decibels, according to an NIH study, which is well above the 70 decibels that's considered a disturbance under the DC noise ordinance. Up to 600. That's how many eggs a female cicada can lay during her short lifetime. And those insect babies will emerge in the year 2038. And we still have lots to get to here on Prime tonight. The Flamingo float fiasco. 3 adults, 2 dogs stranded at sea, and the Coast Guard swooping in. The one thing that led to the massive cyber attack on Colonial Pipeline, what their CEO had to say. But first, a look at our top trending stories on abcnews.com.
Guide you through it all tonight. We have made it through another week together.
Big hug,
We tell all our patients how much they're loved. We hold their hands.
David, we're showing our love and support for all the ICU staff.
They're the heroes in this.
In Australia, where I live, we've just had the worst spate of fatal shark encounters in a century. As someone who loves sharks and being in the water, why do you think they're coming closer to shores? I want to find out if we can live together without doing each other harm.
Coexisting is really important.
I couldn't agree with you more.
They will come close. Don't make sharp movements.
Should I be nervous?
Wow. The biggest Shark Fest ever begins with the premiere of Shark Beach with Chris Hemsworth, Monday, July 5th at 9 on National Geographic.
The world may feel out of your control, but your happiness doesn't have to be. Learn the secrets to happiness. Listen to the 10% Happier podcast, free on Apple Podcasts.
ABC News honored winner for the second straight year with the Edward R. Murrow Award for Overall Excellence in Television. ABC News, America's #1 news source.
This is GMA3, what you need to know. GMA3.
A third hour of Good Morning America in the afternoon.
It's all about you. Lunchtime on ABC.
The reality is our country can collapse from within.
You see the white power movement on the march. Klansmen and neo-Nazis, skinheads, it's meant to incite war.
From the KKK to Oklahoma City to Charlottesville, the new documentary event special.
We just need to start talking about race.
Homegrown hate, the war among us.
This is a real wake-up call.
Streaming now on ABC News Live.
Friday nights, 9/8 Central. True crime, cinematic, real-life drama, stunning, the unthinkable. Follow the clues. The Hunt. True Crime 2020. Friday nights, 9/8 Central on ABC.
The most powerful stories of our time, anytime. Nightline.
President Biden kicking off his first trip abroad with a visit to troops and a blunt message for both allies and adversaries.
I'm heading to the G7, then to the NATO ministerial, and then to meet with Mr. Putin to let him know what I want him to know.
The president immediately drawing a stark contrast with former President Trump's tense relationship with America's European allies.
We're going to make it clear that the United States is back and democracies of the world are standing together to tackle the toughest challenges and the issues that matter most to our future.
The president then turning to that high-stakes meeting with Vladimir Putin.
We're not seeking conflict with Russia. We want a stable, predictable relationship. But I've been clear. The United States will respond in a robust and meaningful way when the Russian government engages in harmful activities.
Chad Daybell appearing in court today in Idaho. He and Lori Vallow were indicted in the killings of Vallow's 2 children and Daybell's ex-wife in 2019. Daybell pleaded not guilty to multiple charges, including first-degree murder. While Lori Vallow was charged with the same counts, a judge committed her to a state mental health facility for up to 90 days to restore her competency.
It began with a celebratory 30th birthday jaunt on an inflatable flamingo and ended with a daring rescue mission by the U.S. Coast Guard.
That was a life experience that I'll never forget.
Holly Spence was floating in Alaska's Menasha Bay with her 2 friends and their dogs when aggressive winds swept the pink novelty raft into dangerous water. Witnesses alerting authorities to the group's peril, the Coast Guard springing into action.
Never in a million years would I have thought that I would have seen this up in Alaska, that's for sure. Our concern was that Alaska water is super cold right now. Even going into summer, it could be a bad situation.
Rescue swimmer John Neal rappelling down to save them.
The birthday girl was crying. I think she thought I was going to make her leave her dog. And then I said, it's cool, happy birthday. You're going to get a helicopter ride. You'll remember this forever.
In Florida, a gator more than 7 feet long taken away by a trapper. Witnesses say a woman was bitten on the leg while walking her dog near a pond. The gator, trying to get the dog, she grabbed the dog and fell. The woman suffered serious injuries on her lower right leg.
Tokyo 2020 CEO Toshiro Muto said today that all Olympic participants from outside Japan would be subject to GPS monitoring during their first 2 weeks in the country. Muto also said that the monitoring system would be used not to track every single movement of the Olympic participants, but to retroactively trace them if there's an issue that arises.
Shocking new video from inside a New York City bus showing the driver crashing into several vehicles, jumping a curb, and then slamming into an apartment building. The violent wreck in Brooklyn Monday injuring at least 16 people and forcing all residents out of that building. Officials with the Metropolitan Transportation Authority initially investigating reports that the driver's foot may have become stuck between the brake and accelerator. But the video inside the bus raising new questions, the MTA calling it disturbing on many levels.
Welcome back, everyone. Developing news tonight. Meat company JBS has now confirmed to ABC News the company paid an equivalent of $11 million in ransom in response to the cyber attacks against its operations. The CEO says this was a very difficult decision to make for our company and for me personally. Meantime, the CEO of Colonial Pipeline testified this week and defended the decision to pay a ransom. He also admitted a single password compromised the entire company's security. Pierre Thomas has more.
The CEO of Colonial Pipeline describing a moment of crisis when he apparently worried the hack could lead to an environmental disaster.
If there was 1% chance that that OT system was compromised, it was worth shutting the pipeline system down.
The concern that the recent hack of the company's computers didn't just impact administrative functions, but potentially the flow of fuel in the massive pipeline itself. The decision to shut it all down done within an hour. Millions of gallons of fuel halted. Soon thousands of gas stations shutting down. People panicking, racing to buy gas.
I've never seen anything like this.
The CEO describing an impossible decision. He would pay the $4.4 million in ransom to criminals associated with the Russia-based hacking group known as DarkSide.
It was the hardest decision I've made in my 39 years in the energy industry.
The CEO admitting his company should have been better prepared. The hackers gaining access to an account protected by only a single password. And the Homeland Security Secretary, in an exclusive interview at a secure location where his agency fights cybercrime, was blunt. The nation's power grid, water and food supply, and other critical infrastructure are vulnerable and under growing threat.
We're not talking about people with conscience. We're talking about criminals who want to make money illegally or who want to do harm independent of a profit motive.
Some really disconcerting stuff. Pierre Thomas, kind enough to join us in studio tonight. You were just mentioning there, Pierre, that Secretary Mayorkas views one of the biggest gateways of these hackers is the email, the phishing emails.
The employees are often the weakest link because if they open those emails, it's a gateway. It can lead to hackers having complete control of their networks.
And you have an in-depth investigation tonight on Nightline talking about this increasing threat. Give us a little sense of little taste of what we can expect.
Lindsay, it was so fascinating. We got to hang out and embed with professional hackers. These are people who are paid by private industry or the government to go in and see if they can crack their systems. We're out there as they're trying to break into two companies using all kinds of techniques. It's very cloak and dagger, quite interesting to see.
Airing tonight on ABC on Nightline.
Yes, indeed.
We'll be watching, and good to have you, Pierre. Thank you. Now to the privacy concerns with some Amazon products, including the Echo, that are in tens of millions of homes. Amazon activating a new wireless network that can share some of your internet connections with absolute strangers. ABC's Rebecca Jarvis explains.
They're already in millions of homes across the country. Amazon Echoes and Ring security cameras. But a little-known feature embedded inside your Amazon devices called Sidewalk has automatically kicked in. Sidewalk not only links all your Amazon devices together, it also shares a slice of your internet bandwidth with your neighbors. Amazon says the intent is to help you locate pets or lost items, make setting up new devices around your home easier, and receive notifications from your security cameras or security lighting even if your internet goes down. Sidewalk uses Bluetooth and Wi-Fi signals to pool small amounts of internet bandwidth from multiple locations, creating a so-called mesh network that boosts the range of Amazon devices nearby.
The good part is that if you have devices that are outside the reach of your network, like cameras or outdoor lights, etc., this assures that your signal is reaching them.
But Sidewalk is turned on automatically, raising questions about security.
The bigger question is what data might be collected or passed around. And really, for a lot of people who are concerned about privacy, how might Amazon use these networks that they're creating in the future?
Amazon says the transmissions are tiny in size and thoroughly encrypted. They also tell ABC News to protect customers. Sidewalk is designed with multiple layers of privacy and security to secure data traveling on the network and to keep customers safe.
Our thanks to Rebecca for that. When he's not making Michelin star-rated cuisines, he is traveling the world, feeding hungry people through his nonprofit World Central Kitchen. Award-winning chef Jose Andres has made it his mission to travel wherever he is needed to dish out a hot meal. And since its founding in 2010, he's served more than 50 million meals to those in need. And he is here with us now to talk about his most recent trip to India, which has been rocked, of course, by a surge of COVID-related deaths. Chef, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
As I just said, you just got back from India, where the country is just now beginning to turn the corner after a devastating surge in COVID cases. More than 350,000 people have died, and it has really crippled the country's hospitals. Tell us what you saw when you were on the ground there.
Well, on this trip, I was able to visit Mumbai and New Delhi. Some of the hospitals we saw, they were COVID-19 only hospitals. That meant that the entire hospitals were only dedicated to take care of the sick arriving to those hospitals. And what we saw that obviously the oxygen was very much already under control. Slowly, the numbers were decreasing in number of people arriving to the hospital, in number of deaths, but everybody was talking about getting ready for the next wave that many of the health experts, directors of hospitals and others told us that this will be around September, October, when they are trying to get ready to make sure that the next wave will be at least everybody prepared so they can handle it much better.
And you talk about how feeding people empowers them. Can you give us a sense of the reaction that you got from people there, especially the frontline workers, when you were able to hand them that hot meal?
When the hospitals are under stress, when the nurses, the doctors, everybody working on those facilities are working very much, not only 24/7, but also worry about their own families, being afraid of going back home in the moment that nobody knew exactly how COVID could be impacting the lives of others, and worry about bringing the virus home. We need to understand that those men and women, they are superheroes, but they are superheroes of flesh and bone. And to be there next to them to make sure that actually food sends a message of we care. But at times, food that is necessary, because remember, some of the feeding facilities in those hospitals in some moments of the pandemic shut down because some of those food workers stopped going to work because also they may be impacted by COVID. So being there next to them, making sure that food is not a problem so they can keep fighting this virus on behalf of all of us, I think is essential. And very much everybody is always very appreciative that we are taking care of those men and women fighting this war against COVID-19.
I would imagine. And of course, organizing a mission like World Central Kitchen can't be easy, but you've managed to feed millions of people after natural disasters. And just since the beginning of the pandemic, World Central Kitchen has provided more than 36 million meals in more than 400 cities. Cities like New York, Miami, Houston, Atlanta, Seattle, Chicago. Talk to us just about the logistics that go into organizing such massive efforts, especially during a pandemic.
It's very simple. Unfortunately, in this pandemic, every single restaurant around America, around Europe, around the world very much shut down. But who better to feed people than chefs, cooks, restaurants in a moment of disrepair, in a moment of an emergency? That's what we did. We activated more than 3,000 restaurants at one moment, where we were able to channel the money that we were getting in donations through those restaurants, keeping those restaurants working, keeping the owners being able to pay the bills, rent and salaries, paying the farmers, and in the process, taking care of the needs of every city. This is the smart business we were into. Let's make sure that the problem becomes an opportunity.
We see all those big vats in the kitchens where you're working. What's the most durable food that people seem to eat and love, even in the most harshest of conditions?
We are an organization that we love. Obviously, number one, we are able to deploy World Central Kitchen so quickly because it's always food people anywhere around the world. And everybody agrees with our mission and is in sync with what we do. And so we bring in a plate of food. In this case, we always cook with local ingredients. Why? Because it's the closest thing we have. in the process of fighting hunger, we're able to put the economy up and running again by buying from any local farmer that may have anything to sell. This is very smart business because you are telling them, please keep producing. We're going to be here supporting you. Let's put the system of producing food and feeding people back up again. And so in the process of feeding people local foods, that sends the message that, hopefully again, things will go back to normal. They don't want our pity, they want our respect. In the process of showing them respect, helping them cover the food needs in a moment of mayhem, in the process, we try to put women back at work again, farmers being productive again. And this is a way to every dollar can be multiplied by 4. You not only throw money at the problem, in this case, use feeding the people and covering the short-term needs. Back in the process, you try to put the entire economy up and running again. This is the way what Central Kitchen operates.
We're just about out of time. I just want to ask you one last question. Normally, you're used to kind of catering to people's stomachs, right? But this feels like it's very much from your heart. Where does this come from, this whole idea of feeding people in this sense?
Listen, was this amazing food fighter called Robert Egger? I met him in 1993. He was the founder of an organization called This is Central Kitchen. Very much, he told me that philanthropy, charity, seems is about the redemption of the giver, when philanthropy should be the liberation of the receiver. Today, in the 21st century, to do good is not enough. We must do a smart good. And I do believe in the American dream. And I do believe that today the new American dream is about not only taking care of yourself and your family. This is good. We all should do that. But the new American dream must be too about taking care of the voiceless and taking care of the ones that have way less than you. This is the way forward. Longer tables, not higher walls, one plate of food at a time. We could build a better tomorrow.
Chef Jose Andres, we thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for your time coming on the show tonight.
Thank you.
Before we go tonight, our image of the day. Take a look. They call this Mount Recycle More. You get it? Giant sculpture of G7 leaders, including President Biden in England, is made up of discarded electronics parts. The sculptor said that he made it to highlight the growing threat of e-waste. According to the UN, the current 53 million tons of it generated annually is expected to double by 2050, making it the fastest growing form of waste in the world. And that is our show for this hour. Be sure to stay tuned to ABC News Live for more context and analysis of the day's top stories. Thanks so much for streaming with us. Coming up in the next hour, we're staying on top of several things. More on President Biden's trip to Europe, what he hopes to achieve on the global stage. And New York and Chicago, they both claim that they have the best pizza. But not only does one Connecticut town disagree, they don't even call it pizza. Stay with us.
In Australia, where I live, we've just had the worst spate of fatal shark encounters in a century. As someone who loves sharks and being in the water, why do you think they're coming closer to shores? I want to find out if we can live together without doing each other harm.
Coexisting is really important.
I couldn't agree with you more.
They will come close. Don't make sharp movements.
Should I be nervous?
Wow. The biggest Shark Fest ever begins with the premiere of Shark Beach with Chris Hemsworth, Monday, July 5th at 9 on National Geographic.
The most powerful stories of our time, anytime. Nightline.
Friday nights, 9/8 Central. True crime, cinematic, real-life drama, stunning, the unthinkable. Follow the clues. The Hunt. True crime. 2020. Friday nights, 9/8 Central on ABC.
Admit it. These days, what you need to know
seems to change just about every day.
What is it that you really want to know, need to know?
To help you not just get through your day,
but to make the most of it. Feel smarter.
Feel better.
Feel happier.
Well, how about a third hour of Good Morning America in the afternoon?
GMA 3, what you need to know. Lunchtime at 1 Eastern, 12 Central and Pacific on ABC. It's all about you.
I know what happened, and I'm not guilty.
Why the fascination with criminal trials? Figure out what's really out there. She revealed she had murdered his family.
I know in my heart they did this.
It's the time of suspicion.
The ending's really tough. You don't know whether truth is going to be difficult to find unless you try to find it.
There once was a housewife.
Erica Jane, the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills,
who married a hustler.
Tom Girardi was LA Law, so powerful.
They were just blowing money left and right. But then,
the Real Housewives star accused with her husband of staging a fake divorce.
Thomas Girardi accused of embezzlement. People love a good scandal.
The biggest question is, did she know?
The Housewife and the Hustler, only on Hulu.
There's a sense of pride when I look at the Black families that were in towns like Tulsa.
The white population burned the whole town down.
100 years ago, there were race riots and massacres across the country.
In telling the story of what happened, we can understand what we have come through. This idea that we will make America what it was, no, no, no. We will make America what she should be.
The reality is our country can collapse from within.
You see the white power movement on the march. Klansmen and neo-Nazis, skinheads, it's meant to incite war.
From the KKK to Oklahoma City to Charlottesville, the new documentary event special.
We just need to start talking about race.
Homegrown Hate, The War Among Us.
This is a real wake-up call.
Streaming now on ABC News Live.
Hey there, good evening, everyone. I'm Lindsay Davis. Thanks so much for streaming with us. We're monitoring several developments here at ABC News at this hour. The new watchdog report from the Department of Interior found no evidence that the Park Police cleared protesters from outside the White House so that former President Trump could have a photo op. You likely remember that moment, the president holding up a Bible for cameras. Peaceful protesters were forced out just moments earlier. The report found that protesters were cleared out to allow contractors to build a fence in response to some damage that had been done during two previous nights of rioting. It adds the Park Police didn't even know about Trump's plans until hours after planning their operation. The crippling mega drought in the American Southwest is only getting worse. Lake Mead at the Hoover Dam has its lowest water levels in decades, threatening the region's supplies of electricity and also drinking water. The sponsor of the Keystone XL crude oil pipeline said today that it's pulling the plug on its contentious project after Canadian officials failed to persuade President Biden to reverse his decision to cancel its permit. The pipeline is set to transport crude oil from sand fields in Canada to Nebraska. The president canceled it over concerns that burning oil sands only makes climate change worse. Speaking of President Biden, he's in England tonight, kicking off his first overseas trip as president. ABC's Karen Travers is also there and has more on his high-stakes meetings and why the White House calls the president's upcoming plans to confront Russian President Vladimir Putin vital.
President Biden arrived in the UK to kick off his first overseas trip. First up, remarks to U.S. service members at RAF Mildenhall.
To all you airmen and soldiers, I want to say thank you. We owe you. We're so damn proud of you.
After decades of representing American foreign policy abroad as a senator and as vice president, Mr. Biden now sits down with world leaders as their equal. White House officials say the president aims to turn the page from the Trump administration, making his case that America is once again a global leader and reaffirming relationships with key allies.
We're going to make it clear that the United States is back and democracies of the world are standing together.
Here in the UK, the president will meet one-on-one with British Prime Minister Boris Johnson and pay a visit to Queen Elizabeth at Windsor Castle. In between is the G7 summit, the first major in-person gathering of world leaders since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic. Beating the virus will be a key issue on the agenda. According to a person familiar with the plan, the president will buy 500 million doses from Pfizer to provide to COVAX, the global vaccine program. Next, the president travels to Brussels, where he'll reaffirm the U.S. commitment to the NATO military alliance. But it's the final stop that is perhaps the most high stakes, a face-to-face meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin. The White House says President Biden will pressure Putin on recent cyber attacks, Russia's election interference, and human rights violations.
And then to meet with Mr. Putin to let him know what I want him to know.
The White House calling the Putin meeting a vital part of defending America's interests and values.
Our thanks to Karen for that. And now to the latest on the pandemic and declining vaccination rates in the U.S. So far, 13 states have reached the benchmark goal of 70% of adults with at least one dose. 6 states are at less than 50%. Mississippi, the lowest of all, at just 44% of adults with one shot. ABC's Marcus Moore has the latest.
Tonight, with vaccine demand slowing in the U.S., news that unused Johnson & Johnson one-dose vaccines are due to expire at the end of the month. The company, which suffered setbacks in early April due to safety concerns about blood clots in a very small number of women, saying today it's working to try to extend the shelf life of its doses.
We still believe that we are going to be very relevant in terms of getting patients vaccinated around the world.
This coming amid President Biden's announcement that the U.S. will buy 500 million doses of Pfizer to provide to poorer nations. The race to vaccinate in the U.S. facing challenges, even as concerns grow about the highly contagious Delta variant first detected in India. That strain now dominant in the U.K., with transmission rising among 12 to 20-year-olds, raising concerns for experts here in the U.S.
We're out there really pushing and beating the bushes and trying to get people to understand why it's so important for them to get vaccinated.
On average, about 357,000 U.S. adults have gotten at least one shot every day in the last week. That's down nearly 20%, far short of the approximately 540,000 needed daily to hit President Biden's July 4th goal of 70%. In Oklahoma, where vaccinations have plummeted, the health department saying it may have to throw out tens of thousands of vaccines. 6 states now reporting that half of their adults still have not received at least one shot. At just over 44%, Mississippi ranks last.
I tell you, it's horrifying.
In the small town of Forest, Pastor O.D. Akins is trying to encourage people to get vaccinated after he nearly died from COVID in April.
80 days in the hospital.
80 days. I didn't know whether I was in the world or out of the world.
And a 2% chance.
2% chance survival.
Wow, just a 2% chance of survival. He's hoping that other people will learn from his own story. Our thanks to Marcus for that. Actor Armie Hammer has checked himself into rehab as he faces disturbing accusations from 7 women. Kaylee Hartung has this story.
Armie Hammer reportedly waking up in rehab.
I don't want you to regret anything.
Vanity Fair exclusively confirming the embattled Call Me By Your Name actor checked into an inpatient treatment facility in Florida last week for drug, alcohol, and sex issues. Sources close to Hammer telling the magazine he reached out to his estranged wife Elizabeth Chambers late last month, asking for help and telling her that he was ready to seek treatment.
He kind of reached a rock bottom. He's committed to being there as long as it takes to become healthy and to become kind of a healthier parent.
After 10 years of marriage, Hammer and Chambers announced their divorce last summer. By January, accusations of abuse and violence during sex exploding onto social media. Former girlfriends and other women sharing screenshots of alleged private messages with the actor describing his fantasies about cannibalism and sexual assault. One selfie he allegedly sent appearing to grab his own throat, going viral. And in March, one of those women accusing Hammer of raping her in 2017. His attorney saying that relationship and every other was consensual, Hammer denying any wrongdoing. But the scandal upending the Golden Globe-nominated actor's career. A rom-com with Jennifer Lopez replacing him with Josh Duhamel, and a Paramount Plus series about the making of The Godfather, dropping him for Miles Teller.
People were concerned, and they've grown more concerned about what he might do without that professional success he had, with all of these allegations around him, how he would weather that storm.
Now friends close to the actor tell Vanity Fair after years of worrying about Hammer, they are hopeful this treatment is a step towards hurts his overall well-being.
People around him have been waiting for him to take some sort of accountability, and through this action of checking into rehab is the first sign that he's willing to do that.
Our thanks to Kaylee. Next to the staggering job numbers that we reported last night, the Bureau of Labor says employment opportunities are at an all-time high. But what does that mean? Who exactly is hiring? Rebecca Jarvis has those answers.
Help wanted. U.S. job openings soaring to a record 9.3 million. A new report from the Labor Department showing openings surged in April, and the number of Americans who voluntarily quit their jobs rose to nearly 4 million.
As we slowly and steadily get this pandemic behind us, there's lots of signs the labor market could get really strong in the months ahead.
So who's hiring? Virtually every industry in every region of the country. Retail openings up 559,000 from this time last year. Manufacturing up 579,000. And in leisure and hospitality, 1.2 million more jobs available than last April. But while the jobs are returning, many businesses say the applications are not.
There's still some risk associated with the pandemic, particularly for folks who haven't got vaccines yet. There's also these extended and enhanced unemployment insurance benefits that are paying people, in some cases, more money than they were making before the pandemic.
Goldman Sachs' 10,000 Small Businesses Voices survey finding 71% are currently hiring, but 81% of them say they're finding it difficult to recruit qualified candidates.
For us, I would say the biggest challenge has been getting people to show up for interviews.
The Shuck and Shack Oyster Bar restaurant franchise has seen an incredible surge in business.
As people have stepped away from a notoriously difficult sector of employment, which is the restaurant and hospitality world, that people are seriously thinking about whether they want to go back to it.
Our thanks to Rebecca. And still to come, you thought our politics were rough? At least we have not seen a fist fight like this one here. Not yet, at least. And our conversation with comedian, actress, and now author Yvonne Orji. Stay with us.
In Australia, where I live, we've just had the worst spate of fatal shark encounters in a century. As someone who loves sharks and being in the water, why do you think they're coming closer to shores? I want to find out if we can live together without doing each other harm.
Coexisting is really important.
I couldn't agree with you more.
They will come close. Don't make sharp movements.
Should I be nervous?
Wow. The biggest Shark Fest ever begins with the premiere of Shark Beach with Chris Hemsworth, Monday, July 5th at 9 on National Geographic.
The most powerful stories of our time, anytime. Nightline.
Friday nights, 9/8 Central. True crime, cinematic, real-life drama, stunning, the unthinkable. Follow the clues. The Hunt. True crime. 2020. Friday nights, 9/8 Central on ABC.
Admit it. These days, what you need to know
seems to change just about every day.
What is it that you really want to know, need to know?
To help you not just get through your day,
but to make the most of it. Feel smarter.
Feel better.
Feel happier.
Well, how about a third hour of Good Morning America in the afternoon?
GMA 3, what you need to know. Lunchtime at 1 Eastern, 12 Central and Pacific on ABC. It's all about you.
I know what happened, and I'm not guilty.
Why the fascination with criminal trials? Figure out what's really out there.
She revealed she had murdered his family.
I know in my heart they did this.
It's the time of suspicion. The ending's really tough.
You don't know whether truth is going to be difficult to find unless you try to find it.
The reality is our country can collapse from within.
You see the white power movement on the march.
You will not replace us!
Klansmen and neo-Nazis, skinheads. It's meant to incite war.
From the KKK to Oklahoma City to Charlottesville, the new documentary event special.
We just need to start talking about race.
Homegrown Hate, The War Among Us.
This is a real wake-up call.
Streaming now on ABC News Live.
Welcome back. We're tracking several international headlines at this hour. Here is something you certainly do not see every day. A fist fight on the floor of the Bolivian parliament. The brawl broke out between opposition politician Henry Montero and Antonio Colque, a member of the ruling Socialist Party, while the ministers were discussing events that led to the detention of a former interim president. A Moscow court has outlawed the key organizations of Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny by designating them as extremist groups in one of the most serious blows to Navalny's movement yet. The ruling puts these organizations alongside violent terror groups like ISIS and means that anyone aiding Navalny's organizations or even just expressing public support for them could face long prison sentences. Navalny, who was poisoned with a nerve agent last year, remains in a Russian prison camp. The U.S. has condemned the court's ruling. And take a look at this dash cam video. There you see it. The moment an elephant charges at a man in a truck in South Africa. The man says that he stopped for elephants crossing the path, but then one elephant came toward him, then moved away, but then charged forward. The man's truck was damaged and he was left stunned, but thankfully unharmed. Emmy-nominated actress and comedian Yvonne Orji has quickly become a Hollywood headliner. She's best known for her role as Molly Carter on HBO's hit show Insecure. Take a look.
I've just been feeling so tense all the time. Like I'm dreading something, but I don't know what.
And you think this stems from Issa?
She crossed the line by going behind my back with Andrew.
Is there anything you feel like you could have done differently in the moment?
Honestly, no. She has to apologize.
And now Orji can add author to her list of accomplishments. Her new book is called Bamboozled by Jesus, How God Tricked Me into the Life of My Dreams. Welcome to the show, Yvonne. So good to talk to you.
Nice to talk to you, too. Thanks for having me.
So first off, this has been described as not a self-help book, but a get yours book, a modern-day biblical blueprint. Would you agree with that assessment?
Absolutely. Listen, I love me a good self-help book as well, but a lot of times what readers do, they buy it and they are like ready to jumpstart their new whatever, and then the book becomes the coffee table holder. It's just for show and for decoration. And I'm like, nah, you gonna get yours. Everybody, there's some gems that are dropped in the book, and if you apply them, I'm telling you right now, like if you like anything about my life, it's possible for yours.
And you write that as a child of immigrant parents, your life pretty much was mapped out for you. Do well in school, get a good job, raise a family. You call it following the good Nigerian girl protocol, but you say that Jesus had another plan for you. How did you realize ultimately what that plan was?
Yeah, I was going to be a doctor, which, my last name is Orji. So paging Dr. Orji to gynecology. That was when I knew God had jokes, but God bless me. God told me to do comedy and I had never done it. And it was also not a thing that my very immigrant parents felt like could be a career. I mean, I didn't know it could be a career either. And so, he derailed all of our plans. And, obviously that's the whole part of being bamboozled, because on the flip side, when you get to the other side of the bamboozlement, you see that it works out. But in the middle of it, you can't see the light at the end of the tunnel, and you just have to keep believing that there is an end that is better than the beginning.
And speaking of not being able to see that light of day, you've struggled for years with how to tell your parents that you didn't want the good Nigerian girl protocol, including going to medical school. What did it take ultimately for you to be honest with them, and how did that conversation go?
Oh man, I mean, I did everything. I got a master's degree to stall. I worked in war tour in Liberia post-conflict, like in 2008, to continue stalling, because that was easier than breaking their hearts. When immigrant parents come here, they come here with so much sacrifice for us, their children. And so for me, I was like, how do I rip this Band-Aid off? And so I kept stalling. And then finally I realized, short of going to medical school, becoming a doctor, and marrying a doctor, they're not going to be happy. So if I'm not doing that, I might as well just, have the tears start now because I'm gonna keep disappointing them, and I'm gonna disappoint myself because I'm just kind of like walking this eggshell, not really following my purpose, but not really following their plans. And so I had to have that tough conversation, and it was a long road, and it took me 7 years to make it. And that was actually, I gave them an ultimatum. I said, it's going to take me 8 years to make it as a doctor. Just give me 8 years to make it in entertainment. And we made it in 7. And I was like, won't he do it? Look at God.
Look at God, right? Won't he do it? And in your book also, you say that Jesus or faith can work for anyone, even if you aren't Christian or spiritual. How so?
Yeah, because at the end of the day, the Bible is a book of principles, right? And principles work for anybody who works the principles. It's like we know you don't have to be a scientist to know the laws of gravity. That's a principle. Like you can jump off a cliff if you want, you're gonna fall. And so it's the same thing with the Bible. It's like there's so many people who don't subscribe to faith or religion that are benefiting off of the principles that are found in the Bible. And so that's what I say. Like obviously, I come from a biblical perspective, but yeah, like the golden rule is just a principle on how not to be a jerk. And people work that principle all the time. So there's some nuggets and gems that I drop in the book that even if you say, I don't really get down with the whole Jesus thing, it's like, it's cool. Just keep reading. There's something here for you.
And the subtitle of your book is How God Tricked Me into the Life of My Dreams. You write that things worked out pretty well for me, and I'm confident that they'll work out amazingly for you too. To what do you most attribute your success? Because just playing devil's advocate here, a lot of people can be believers and not necessarily have success, at least here on earth.
Oh, yeah. I mean, listen, faith without works is still dead. At the end of the day, you got to there's some muscle that has to be put into it. I definitely know, like, having the Nigerian gang star gene, because we're hustlers. We're going to be successful. We just believe, there's a saying that says, Nigerians they carry last, which means Nigerians don't finish second place. That was kind of like instilled in me from an early age of just like, you grind, you go, you do, you work hard, you believe for the best. So like having that, cultural aspect as well as having the faith aspect, because there's definitely some things I've accomplished in my life, even being on Insecure, going from, stand-up comic to number 2 on a call sheet on an HBO premium cable show. Like I skipped some steps, and I can definitely attribute that to favor and faith as well as to hard work.
Right, you got to pray and move your feet, they say. Of course, you're in an industry that's often uncomfortable with religion and people of faith, but you've been very open about your relationship with God for a long time. How have you made this work for you?
Well, because I didn't know I had to choose. I didn't know that there was ever a portion of me that I had to like keep one aspect of myself hidden while, putting forth a good. I don't like to have different versions of myself, because then I can't remember the last one that I shared. So for me, it just works to have a symbiotic relationship with who I say I am and what I do. And it's never, my faith is loud, but it's never in a way where it's like, it doesn't invite other people in. It's never in a way where it keeps people away. So for me, I've been fortunate that I'm like, if you like me, you got to like all parts of me. And it works.
Yvonne Orji, we thank you so much. It is certainly working for you. Yvonne's book, Bamboozled by Jesus, is now out and available wherever books are sold. Yvonne, once again, thank you for your time. Appreciate you coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Anybody hungry? We are talking pizza. And often when people think about pizza, they usually think New York or Chicago style. But Lara Spencer and many others say that you need to throw New Haven, Connecticut into that mix. But they don't even call it pizza there. Lara takes us to some of the places making a beats and the 100-year rivalry for the title Best in Town.
Beats, as they say. Beats.
Beats.
In New Haven, it's all about the beats. The fresh smells of mousse, sauce, and Parmesan cheese that fill the air. Tourists from all over the world come to get a slice of heaven from the self-proclaimed Holy Trinity of Pizza. Frank Pepe's, Sally's, and Modern.
It's an explosion of taste. Yes. I don't know how else to describe how good it is.
It's very so good. The cheese was nice and bubbly, and it kind of like melted and had like the strings and everything.
Frank Pepe's was the first to put New Haven on the map back in 1925. And to this day, it's all about the white clam pizza.
It's just all the fresh ingredients of a fresh
fresh clam on a fresh pizza.
Then a new rival popped up just a block away on Worcester Street, and it was Pepe's very own nephew going head-to-head against the family, opening up Sally's, a direct competitor where sauce remains front and center.
80 years ago when Sal was developing the recipes, both the sauce and the dough to work in concert with this oven that we have. It's a very unique coal-fired oven. We call it the magic oven.
In 1934, Modern jumped into the fray, intent on proving pizza wasn't just a family affair. Their pie, called the Italian Bomb, exploding across the state.
We're famous for the Italian Bomb. It's kind of like everything on it, 3 meats, 3 vegetables. If I was going to the electric chair tomorrow, that's my final meal.
And when the pandemic hit, these pizza places pivoted.
We just ran takeout. I'd have a line of 70 people standing outside and not wanting to get along, and I turned me into a bouncer.
We basically doubled capacity on the patio.
Where our dining room was now in our parking lot, and instead of having numbered tables, we had numbered parking spots.
And people kept ordering those pies.
Community kicked in, you know, a $20 tip wasn't uncommon on picking up 1 pizza. They'd over-tip, they'd tip more than what the pizza cost, and that helped everybody.
And that is a testament to our people. When you ask people about Frank Pepe's, it's about our people. People make pizzas, and we have passionate people that make them every day.
What's crazy is that, especially these 3 pizzerias, Sally's, Pepe's, Modern, and there's something really, really powerful that I think shows that pizza can last through anything. Good pizza will last forever.
For me, I think it's the crust. No substitution for Pepe's.
She keeps on reaching for it. I'm like, no, not yet. We're not on solid foods just yet.
I don't care what places make their claims. This is New Haven is the original best pizza.
I don't think pizza would be my last meal, but I do love pizza, and that just made me desire it a little bit more. Our thanks to Lara for that. And one last thing before we go. Take a look at these shoes, high heel Crocs. For those who want to take pandemic chic to the next level, Balenciaga unveiled its latest collaboration with the usually comfy shoe brand, and the internet is very opinionated about it. No word just yet on price. That is our show for tonight. Be sure to stay tuned to ABC News Live for more context and analysis of the day's top stories. I'm Lindsay Davis. Thanks so much for streaming with us, and have a great night.